Yo, welcome to MST episode 36 as we're going over week 13 predictions and week 11, week 12 recap. Haven't had an episode in a while. You guys know we had some turkey day in between, had family. I'm actually at my parents' house right now doing this episode, and we're going to give you this episode largely unedited. As you can see, again, we're still on the road, and we actually are going up to Pittsburgh. So you're going to get in the next episode some inside footage of Heinz Field as the Steelers take on the Chargers Sunday Night Football. Recently flexed game, perfect timing, as I will be in the building. But we got a lot to go over this episode, so stick with me. You know, it's going to be another long one. So without talking too much about it, let's go ahead and jump into a quick recap of the last 2 weeks. A lot of things have happened in the last 2 weeks. The Steelers had 2 road games that have shaken up the AFC playoff picture. The Patriots now sit in the 2 seed. Kansas City has lost the Super Bowl 52.5, as they like to call it, against the Rams in Mexico City, which put them in jeopardy at first of losing the first round seed until the Steelers lost. So now they have the same buffer or space games of space they had before. And then, of course, the Colts have crept back into the playoff picture. The Broncos have crept into the playoff picture, as the Ravens, and the Bengals are trending down after losing to the Browns. They got blown out by the Browns at home. That's a new low. You know, even for Bengals fans, you just sunk into a new low, and that's hard to do in the Marvin Lewis era. So, NFC-wise, the Panthers are trending down badly. 3-game road skid after the Steelers took their souls from them. It appears they forgot how to play football, and they've lost to Seattle and Detroit. The worst one may be, I don't know which is worse, because losing at home is bad, but losing to Detroit is really bad no matter where you play them. So they really have to rebound this week. I think they got the Bucks. And then, of course, the Redskins lost their quarterback for the year. They're running with Colt McCoy trying to limp to the finish, and it doesn't look like they're going to make it. I think the Cowboys or the Eagles are going to catch them. Those two are going to play to determine who wins that division later on. The Packers are done. They have the same record as the Browns. What needs to be said about them? And then, of course, Vikings and Bears going to be battling it out. Bears in the lead for that. The Rams have secured their spot, it seems, and they're only battling with the Saints for that number 1 seed. So that's our Week 11, Week 12 recap. Jerem, do you want to say anything about those 2 weeks?
Yeah, I'll definitely say a couple of things. One of the things that I kind of called the Bengals losing to the Browns, but still kind of shocking to actually see have happened. The Cowboys have jumped up, and they look to be the favorites to actually win the dreadful NFC East. We should please a lot of Cowboys fans, but at the same time make a lot of Cowboys fans mad because they're probably just going to end up losing the first round of the playoffs. But, a playoff appearance is better than none. It might save Jason Garrett's job. I would say the Bears look pretty legit. Trubisky has been performing very well. I'm not really sure how far he can take them, but he's definitely was doing a lot better than a lot of people have, I guess, predicted, at least from where I sit. To the Giants, that was a tough game to lose to the Giants. Barkley was killing the Eagles. They had a 2-score lead on them. Barkley had 100 yards at halftime, and he still only ends up with 13 carries to end the game. I don't know how that happens. To me, that feels like something that the head coach has to take blame for. There was no way they should have lost that game. But other than that, everything is shaping up. Seattle is getting their feet under them, trying to make a playoff push. But the only teams that I really feel like
The segment where we're going to get into the power rankings, which really we're kind of taking consideration week 11 and week 12, since I didn't release a formal power ranking for that. number one since the Rams and Chiefs played. It was a close game. You know, Saints kept winning convincingly. We're going to put the Saints number one. Number two, the victory of that game, the Rams. Number three, Kansas City Chiefs. Really, I mean, I still think that, you know, you could probably mix and match that order any three you like, but those are the top three teams of the NFL right now. Number four is also kind of tricky. I think a lot of people will argue New England just because of the recent loss Pittsburgh suffered. Or I'm still putting Pittsburgh 4 simply because we know that, at least I know, if you watch the Steelers, you know that they have these games, but that's not an indictment of how good they can be in the playoffs or how good they are right now. Because the power ranking is how good is this team going into next week. There were no major injuries. It was just kind of a bunch of fluke plays that fortunately happened to Denver instead of happening to a team like the Chargers at home. And, you know, playing at Denver is going to be something that is always more difficult to do than playing at home. And it's probably one of the most difficult places to play considering it's a mile over elevation that you're accustomed to playing. We've seen Brady go in there and lose. We've seen a lot of teams go in there and lose at Denver. So that's nothing to be ashamed of, especially when it takes 4 turnovers to secure a loss. So not going into the details of that game too much yet. We'll see if we have time for it. But I'm leaving Pittsburgh and New England where they are. New England took care of business at the Jets, but it was hardly impressed. There was nothing to suggest that this team has turned a corner other than just winning a game that we know that they're supposed to win. And the Jets, you know, their season's been over for some time now. Denver actually might make the playoffs with their recent win. They are on track to be battling for that 6th seed, which, of course, they have to go on the road. Both teams, I think, are still better than the Chargers and Texans, who are the next 2 pair of teams that are fighting for 6 and 7. And really, you can be interchangeable here. I'm going to go with the Texans at 6 just because the Chargers lost a very, very valuable tool. Sorry, I had a phone call coming through. But that's Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon is going to be out for some time. And at least for the time period, I think that's enough to put the Texans ahead of them, especially considering the Texans are winning their division. So I got the Texans and the Houston Texans at 6, and then Los Angeles Chargers at 7, 8, 9, 10. It gets a little hairy here. You have your division leading Chicago Bears at 8 and 3. Let's just recap the whole top 12, top power rankings. We have New Orleans Saints number 1, Los Angeles Rams number 2, Kansas City Chiefs number 3, Pittsburgh Steelers stay, even though they're a game behind. I still have them 4 above the New England Patriots 5. The Patriots beat the Vikings depending on how the Steelers play. You know, we will definitely move those teams. 6, Houston Texans due to the Melvin Gordon injury. Los Angeles Chargers 7 because we don't know how their running back's looking. 8, Chicago Bears sitting at 8 and 3, leading their division, but question still at the quarterback position. 9. Who did I give the nod to at 9? No, I gave the nod to the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks on a winning streak, 9. Vikings came in at 10. And I know 11. I know 12 was the Dallas Cowboys. 11 is the Colts, Indianapolis Colts. So there you have it. You could probably interchange 11, 12, maybe even 10. But, you know, I think the Cowboys have done enough that they deserve to be recognized in this power ranking. So I'm definitely including them at 12 because, I mean, I know Alex Smith isn't the greatest quarterback, but you beat Colt McCoy, you know. So I'm not giving you too much credit, but you do deserve to be mentioned. in these elite playoff teams, essentially what we're talking about.
I agree with what you said. I think the only thing you can really kind of quarrel with is maybe the Panthers being at 6-5, but they're on a three-game loser streak, so that kind of is why they get bumped out there. Washington's lost their quarterback for the year. So I definitely agree with what you said. You could say the Ravens, they're on a 2-game winning streak at 6-5, but I get not wanting to quite put them in there yet.
Yeah, and I actually did mention them first before I put the Cowboys in, and then I realized the Cowboys on a 3-game winning streak, and they're leading their division, which trumps the Ravens' 2-game winning streak and still on the outside looking in. So that's your power rankings. And now, quickly, we're going to go looking ahead to this weekend's matchups as far as playoff implications are concerned. All right, so playoffs are now in visible sight. You know, the finish line is less than a quarter of a season away. Come to think about it, I probably should have done the third quarter report. I just remembered, was it 12 games have gone by? Yeah, we definitely should have done a third quarter report card. But we'll look at that next week. We'll just have to do it a week late. But 13 weeks into the season after this game, everybody's had their bye week, so that will still mean everybody's played at least 75% of their games, as we'll have 4 weeks left of the season, starting with week 14, 15, 16, 17. So everybody's playing. So we're still on track for that. As far as the playoffs are concerned, right now, the Kansas City Chiefs are the number 1 in the AFC, and the New Orleans Saints are the number 1 in NFC. Judging at the remaining games, it's hard to fathom that changing too much. The Rams do have an easier schedule than the Saints. And according to some of our predictions, they could very much well end up winning the division if the Saints were to drop more than one game. The Saints have a tiebreaker on the Rams right now. So even if the Saints were to lose to the Steelers, who are probably the best team left on their schedule, as long as they sweep the Panthers and obviously win the rest of their games, which are more than capable, they would still beat out the Rams for the number 1 seed. So those are the current number 1 seeds. Number 2 seeds currents are now the New England Patriots and the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are not at a threat to lose that 2 seed as much as the Patriots are, because the Patriots still need to play the current number 4 seed in the AFC, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They also need to play a playoff team in the Minnesota Vikings this week, and they need to play a Miami Dolphin team that they typically struggle with on the road the following week after Minnesota, and then they get Pittsburgh. So they have probably one of their toughest 3-game stretches of the entire schedule coming up this Sunday. Right now, let's go ahead and talk about that, Germ. You know, the Patriots control as they, I would say this, typically they don't necessarily implicate the playoffs too much other than getting that number 1 seed, but this is the year that they could finish anywhere from, I guess technically they're still in play for the number 1, but they could finish at 1 to 4. Those are the possible destinations for the Patriots, as they're sitting at 7-3 or 8-3. They're 8-3. Houston Texans are 8-3. They have the tiebreaker against the Texans. They have the tiebreaker against the Kansas City Chiefs, and they have yet to play the Steelers, who, of course, if they win, then they will secure the 2 seed, I believe. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's really puzzling how they lost to Tennessee, but it just goes to show you how big of an advantage home field advantage is for New England. They played that Tennessee game at Tennessee. They played the Texans and the Chiefs at home. And so I think that's the biggest difference between the wins and losses right there. New England, they have a chance to finish between 1st and 4th, but seeing as how they struggle on the road, they definitely are probably going to drop at least one of the two against Miami and Pittsburgh. And most people don't think, oh, Miami Dolphins are not any good. I've heard this from Patriots fans that they do not like going down to Miami and playing because just even in December and November, it can still be warm in Miami. A lot warmer than New England, of course. And it's just one of those places where they have been liable to drop a game or two as the years go by. Now, I think they're more likely to lose against Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh's going to want to revenge the game from last year with the drop controversy and everything. But I do think that they're still a very good team, but it depends on how things go. They still can get the bye, but like you said, they're just as likely. I think they most likely end up in the third spot. If things go the way I think that they're going to go, they'll end up with the third seed in the AFC. I don't think that the fourth seed is a long shot to me.
Yeah, and just covering some of the possibilities for context. We looked at the other seed in play here, and that's the Houston Texans, who are sitting in the 3 spot. The Texans have some difficult games. I mean, not the same caliber as the Steelers, but that's also because I don't quite put them in the same caliber as the Patriots and Steelers, as good as a team they are. They have to play a very feisty Colts team that's hot, just breached the MST power rankings for a reason because they're on a roll. They won 5 straight, and they will be looking to redeem themselves against Houston. If you can recall, they threw away that game against Houston. They had a chance to go into overtime and just punt it away. Instead, they went on 4th and 5 on their own 30-something yard line. Instead of punting the ball, they went for it on 4th down, didn't get it, and Houston did play through one pass. They had no timeouts and kicked a field goal. Just like that, they lost. That one game right there is really hurting the Colts right now because they're 6-5. The Texans are 8-3. That game goes the other way. Somehow the Colts win in overtime. The Colts are 7-4 and the Texans are 7-4. And the Colts have a chance of winning the division if they beat the Texans again. So Texans have that tough game. They also have Philadelphia on the road, and Jacksonville should be packed up by the end of the season. So that should be a win. And they also play the Browns somewhere in there. But those two are the key games that we're looking at, is Philadelphia and the Colts. If they lose both of those games, you can guarantee they'll be the 4th seed. They'll be the 4th seed. And then New England, I think no matter how they finish, we know they're going to do enough to avoid that dreadful 4th seed, which is probably the worst spot you can be in this AFC playoffs. More than likely, the Chargers are going to be the 5 seed with the Chiefs about to clinch their division. And with the Chargers, the 5 seed, they're definitely the most dangerous wild card. Sure, you get them at home, but right after that, you have to go to Kansas City and beat a very rested and hot Kansas City team. At that point, they might have cooled off if they had a bye week, but I don't know how. It's always going to be difficult, but just having to face the Chargers and then the Chiefs, and then you will have to turn around and play either the Patriots or Steelers. I mean, I guess no matter how you slice it, the Texans don't really have a chance. I mean, the best chance for them is if they get a home game. That's what everybody wants. That's what Jeremy was talking about, or Jeremy was talking about just a second ago. And you can go all the way back to last year and look at how the Steelers kind of unraveled or fell apart, however you may want to call it, against the Jaguars. The only reason why they played the Jaguars last year was because of that one call against the Patriots, the Jesse James catch. If that catch goes the other way, New England's playing Jacksonville and Pittsburgh's playing Tennessee. That's how important it is to get the highest seed possible. And the Steelers and Patriots have opportunity to do that. The Texans, right now, all they can do is win out. And if they win out, they could very much end up with the 2 seed and get a home bye. So a lot's at stake in the AFC right now. as we're looking at the playoff run. There's a lot of crowd at the bottom of the AFC between the 5 and the 6. Well, not the 5 seed, but the 6 seed, because Germ, who's the current 6 seed? Who holds the 6 seed at the moment?
It's the Ravens. The Ravens are 6-5, and are your current 6 seed in the AFC.
So the Ravens, sitting at 6-5, currently have the 6 seed, but this is the problem. They still have to play at Kansas City. They still have to play at LA Chargers. And I think they still have to play the Browns, it doesn't matter if they're not going in the playoffs. They're just trying to win as many games as they can. And they already beat the Ravens once. I don't know who else the Ravens play, but those 3 games alone. And they're at Atlanta this week. So, I don't know how you can have a lot of confidence in making the playoffs if you're a Ravens fan. But they do have Lamar Jackson at the helm that is giving some teams some trouble because there's not a lot of game film on him. But I would expect the Ravens to beat the Falcons. I would expect the Steelers to beat the Chargers. These are predictions. And the Patriots game, this is the key thing, is that I think the Patriots will lose either this game or next game against Miami Dolphins. I'm predicting a loss between those two because the Vikings, although I don't think they're better than the Patriots, we've seen the Patriots lose to NFC teams at home more than they lose to AFC teams at home. And we're not going to go into the reasons why. We're just going to look at that statistic and take it for what it's worth, is that Minnesota is a team that matches up favorably with the Patriots. This is going to be one of the best games of the weekend because Brady's got to figure out a way to win. And Kirk Cousins has to figure out a way how not to lose. Does that make sense? Because it's up to him not to lose the game for the Vikings. I think that's where it's going to come down to. I mean, it's always quarterback's most important position. And you'll see it front and center with the Patriots and Vikings. Because all Kirk Cousins has to do is don't turn the ball over, and I'm picking the Vikings to win. You turn the ball over against the Patriots at New England, you're going to lose. That's just point blank, period. So I'm going with the Vikings on a clean game. But again, if the Vikings win, then I'm picking the Dolphins next week. No. Exactly. If the Vikings win, then I'm picking the Patriots next week. I'm sorry. But if the Vikings lose, then I'm picking the Dolphins next week. Because I just think the Patriots will drop a game before they play Pittsburgh. As far as the Chiefs, who did the Chiefs play this week? The Raiders. Chiefs will win that. Other playoff team we're not predicting all the games. We're just predicting playoff caliber teams. The Ravens and Falcons, okay. And we got the Chargers covered. The Colts, who do the Colts play? Because they're vying for the playoffs. At Jacksonville. Jacksonville's stinky right now. They just said they're starting Cody Kessler. Give me the Colts. And is there any other team that's really fighting for a playoff spot that's kind of in the picture? We know the Bengals season is pretty much done. I'm not paying attention to them.
Dolphins play the Bills at home. They're 6-5 right now. Or they're 5-6. So
Dolphins and Bills? Yeah, Dolphins. If the Dolphins can win that game and the Falcons beat the Ravens, which is very light, that could happen. That's very possible. Dolphins will be back in the picture at 6-6, tied with the Ravens 6-6. Would there any? And then the Colts. The Colts also are 6-5. I guess the Colts would take that 6th spot then, huh? And there's a lot of.
Ravens lose, the Colts take the 6th spot.
If the Colts win, so there you didn't talk about, and maybe deservingly so, but we didn't talk about the Tennessee Titans being 5-6, playing against the Jets at home. Very big game for them because, again, like we said, if the Ravens lose, and heck, if the Colts lose, they're no means a lock against the Bills. I don't put them that much. I mean, we'll see. They're on a hot streak. They should win. But if the Titans can still be one game out, and all those teams are capable of losing down the stretch. So we'll get with the Titans. Is the Denver Broncos are now 5-6, looking at the same position. So with that being said, let's move over to the NFC playoff picture as the New Orleans Saints. Who the Saints playing this week, Jerm?
The Saints
Of course. And, it's not often we get these good Thursday night football matchups. And what sucks is that they end up being blowouts, right? And that's what we saw with the Panthers and Steelers. Thanksgiving, Saints blew out the Falcons for the most part. Who else was there? The Cowboys and Redskins was just, I don't know about you guys, but I just, like, people, maybe they like the Cowboys, but it's just like this Cowboys team, it's just not that exciting to watch. Maybe it's Dak Prescott. I'm not excited by watching the Cowboys. And the Redskins, they're rarely exciting, and they're definitely not exciting with Colt McCoy playing quarterback. So I was bored with that game. But now when you have the Cowboys and the Saints together, I was also bored with the Lions and Vikings as well. So, but that's just me. Who we got? Saints or Cowboys? Because I'm tempted to pick the Cowboys because they're at home on a short week. But the Saints, and this is the reason why I really fear the Saints, and I think that the Saints should be feared by everybody, which they are. And that's the fact that so far their coach and their quarterback understand their limitations. They understand their team, and they understand that running the football will get you to the playoffs and will win you playoff games. That's the biggest difference with the resurgence of the Saints the last 2 years is they discovered, or they got running backs that they are comfortable handing off to. That's why they're able to have the record they have. They're not dropping these road games because they're throwing the ball 56 times. That's what used to be the problem. And I know I made some comments about how Ben is not Breeze in that sense, but even Breeze needs to have a running game. Even Brady needs a running game. No quarterback can go out there week in and week out throwing 40, 50 times and expect to win enough to get the number 1 or 2 seed. I mean, it might have been done at some point or another, but it's something that you cannot. It's not smart to rely on that. And even still, we know that Ben has never been that quarterback. Breeze might have been that quarterback at some point in time, but right now, Breeze is not that quarterback. What is keeping the Saints at the top elite level right now is that running game, and I trust it to take them into the number 1 seed into the playoffs and possibly the Super Bowl. So we'll see what happens. But number 2 seed, we said, were the Rams. Rams, doesn't matter who they play, they're going to beat. I don't think they have a very difficult schedule to finish the year. At Detroit, that's a win. We're predicting that. Number 3 seed would be the Bears. Who do the Bears play?
At New York Giants.
Giants they're going to beat the Giants. Number 4, Cowboys and Saints. We talked about that. Still picking the Saints. So the Cowboys lose to the Saints. They go to 6-6. The Redskins, who they play? Will they be able to take over the division? Who are they playing?
Washington is playing at Philly.
Washington's at Philadelphia. That is a huge game because Philadelphia is also playing for the division. You got to like Philly in that situation. I'm taking Philadelphia. And Philadelphia, are they 5-6?
Philadelphia is 5-6.
So basically, by the end of this week, we should have a 3-way tie for number 1 in the NFC East at 6-6. How ridiculous is that? But that's just typical of the NFC East. Mediocrity is what they know best. And that's what we're going to get this year. 6-6. It's going to be a 4-game season in the NFC East to determine who goes to the playoffs. That's good TV. I will give you that. That is good TV. That's good drama. Also, we have a big game for the Panthers playing the Buccaneers. I do think they'll go down and get a W against the Bucs. That's not by any stretch an easy game right now for how the Panthers have been playing, and the Buccaneers have started to kind of figure out, hey, you know what? We're not that bad. So I'm still going with the Panthers, but this is their season right here. I mean, I'm not saying that they would not be able to make the playoffs, but at this point in time, you're already focusing on just winning one game. And if you can't win this one game, yeah, I'm not paying any more attention to Panthers if you can't beat the Buccaneers. So that's them. The Packers also, I think they're trying to win 5. They win 5 in a row. I think they make the playoffs in the 6th seed, but they're sitting at, they got to play at Seattle. Home against the Cardinals. I'm taking the Packers. Vikings at Patriots.
Yep.
And who did I pick? I said I kind of didn't pick somebody, but because I said if the Vikings win, then I'm picking the Patriots to beat the Dolphins. But this is what's going to happen. The Patriots are going to win on the last play of the game because it's going to be a close game. I don't see the Vikings blowing out the Patriots. And if Brady has an opportunity to win the game at home, he's not going to lose the game. I can't think of a situation where Brady had the ball at home with the ball last and didn't win the game. Maybe it happened against the NFC East because I think the Eagles beat them once like that. But you just can't pick against Brady when he's in that situation. I'm not going to pick Cousins to go into Gillette Stadium and beat the Patriots on the last play of the game either. So, yeah, Patriots will beat the Vikings, and the Bears will be even closer to clinching their first division title in some time. So, there you have it. Those are predictions. Those are the playoff picks. And, week 13 is going to be crucial. Next week, we'll be in Pittsburgh. So, I'll try to get some other episodes then. I might have some free time. They're going to be like this because I don't have my computer. I don't have my camera. I mean, I have my camera, but I don't have a computer to edit it with. So we're doing everything mobile now. And yeah, I've been out of commission for some time with the holidays, but we're going to try to get back on schedule, get you a college hoops episode. There's a lot of the ACC Big Ten Challenge is pretty much over. Duke and UNC and State and Virginia have all played. So we'll start give you an analysis of the ACC and how that landscape's going to be looking. And then we're also due for another NBA episode. So as well as FIFA, I mean, I got to basically do like 4 or 5 videos this week. But anyways, as always, leave a comment. Follow us on Twitter. We're always tweeting. That's where most of the updates are coming. And until next time, peace. Yo, welcome to MST episode 36 as we're going over week 13 predictions and week 11, week 12 recap. Haven't had an episode in a while. You guys know we had some turkey day in between, had family. I'm actually at my parents' house right now doing this episode, and we're going to give you this episode largely unedited. As you can see, again, we're still on the road, and we actually are going up to Pittsburgh. So you're going to get in the next episode some inside footage of Heinz Field as the Steelers take on the Chargers Sunday Night Football. Recently flexed game, perfect timing, as I will be in the building. But we got a lot to go over this episode, so stick with me. It's going to be another long one, so without talking too much about it, let's go ahead and jump into a quick recap of the last 2 weeks. A lot of things have happened in the last 2 weeks. The Steelers had 2 road games that have shaken up the AFC playoff picture. The Patriots now sit in the 2 seed. Kansas City has lost the Super Bowl 52.5, as they like to call it, against the Rams in Mexico City, which put them in jeopardy at first of losing the first round seed until the Steelers lost. So now they have the same buffer or space games of space they had before. And then, of course, the Colts have crept back into the playoff picture. The Broncos have crept into the playoff picture, as the Ravens and the Bengals are trending down after losing to the Browns. Ugh, they got blown out by the Browns at home. That's a new low. Even for Bengals fans, you just sunk into a new low, and that's hard to do in the Marvin Lewis era. So NFC-wise, the Panthers are trending down badly. 3-game road skid. after the Steelers took their souls from them. It appears they forgot how to play football, and they've lost to Seattle and Detroit. The worst one may be, I don't know which is worse, because losing at home is bad, but losing to Detroit is really bad no matter where you play them. So they really have to rebound this week. I think they got the Bucks. And then, of course, the Redskins lost their quarterback for the year. They're running with Colt McCoy trying to limp to the finish, and it doesn't look like they're going to make it. I think the Cowboys or the Eagles are going to catch them. Those two are going to play to determine who wins that division later on. The Packers are done. They have the same record as the Browns. What needs to be said about them? And then, of course, Vikings and Bears going to be battling it out. Bears in the lead for that. The Rams have secured their spot, it seems, and they're only battling with the Saints for that number 1 seed. So that's our Week 11, Week 12 recap. Jerem, do you want to say anything about those 2 weeks?
Yeah, I'll definitely say a couple of things. One of the things that I kind of called the Bengals losing to the Browns, but it's still kind of shocking to actually see have happened. The Cowboys have jumped up, and they look to be the favorites to actually win the dreadful NFC East, which should please a lot of Cowboys fans, but at the same time make a lot of Cowboys fans mad because they're probably just going to end up losing the first round of the playoffs. But a better playoff appearance is better than none. It might save Jason Garrett's job. I would say the Bears look pretty legit. Trubisky has been performing very well. I'm not really sure how far he can take them, but he's definitely been doing a lot better than a lot of people have, I guess, predicted, at least from where I sit. To the Giants, that was a tough game to lose to the Giants. Barkley was killing the Eagles. They had a 2-score lead on them. Barkley had 100 yards at halftime, and he still only ends up with 13 carries to end the game. I don't know how that happens. To me, that feels like something that the head coach has to take blame for. There was no way they should have lost that game. But other than that, everything is shaping up. Seattle is getting their feet under them, trying to make a playoff push. But the only teams that I really feel like